Hey everyone, my name is Wedge and we are zooming through our Best of the Rest series, covering all the cards not spoiled from Dominaria individually. We've already covered white, blue, and black, so if you want to see those videos, you can click the first link in the description. In this video, we are setting everything on fire with the rest of the red cards in the set, so sit back, get your marshmallows out, and cozy up next to the fire. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit that like button, helps out a lot. Let's do this thing. Bloodstone Goblin is 2 mana for a 2/2 Goblin Warrior. Whenever you cast a spell, if that spell was kicked, the Goblin gets +1/+1 and gains Menace until end of turn. A Baron Red is always nice to see, great for smoothing out a curve, but the upside here is very narrow. You straight up just need a kick spell, that's how it has to be. Even if you run 1 or 2 kick spells in your red deck, that might be enough to play this 2/2 for 2, since a 2/2 for 2 isn't actually bad, it's just there. I'd try to run something else over it if you don't have any kicker spells, but worst case scenario, it feels fine. Best case scenario, red-green kicker deck and you get a bunch of triggers on this. Champion of the Flame is 2 mana for a 1/1 human warrior with trample. It gets +2/+2 for each aura and equipment attached to it. Whoa, talk about a beater unlimited. Each equipment or aura gives it +2/+2. That gets out of hand so fast. You just need 1 aura and it's already a 3/3 with trample before the aura's effect has any impact at all, and it's 2 mana. I know it starts as a 1/1, but if you have a deck with any real amount of equipment or auras, the champion is a reward and a half for you. Now, if we're talking outside of limited, I quite like Commander for this guy. Akiri and Bruce Taro, pretty funny deck right there. Basically, this just follows Tiana around. I'm actually loving this set right now. Fervent Strike is 1 red mana for an instant. Target creature gets +1/+0 and gains first strike and haste until end of turn. Man, oh man, I'm not sure a more aggressive trick exists in the world. It's 1 red mana, it gives the most aggressive combat keyword haste, and the most aggressive damage step keyword first strike. Nothing is more aggressive than this, except that dude who really likes to break down doors. But other than him, super aggressive. This should only ever see play in outrageously fast limited decks that try to win by turn -5, or in standard. If somehow a faster and better red deck can exist than exists right now, I guess this could work, but probably not. I suppose you could pair it with Adelies and a bunch of wizards to just go crazy, who knows. Regardless, real good for super aggro red decks in limited. Fiery Intervention is 5 mana for a sorcery, choose 1. It deals 5 damage to target creature or destroy target artifact. Well, isn't this the most beefy Abrade you've ever seen? Now, because it's a sorcery and 5 mana, this isn't going to see any play outside of limited. But in limited, it is removal, which means it's relatively high tier. Sorcery speed sucks, but 5 damage takes out most anything in this format. You've seen pretty much all the creatures in this set. Over 5 toughness, not all that common. Fiery Intervention is real close to universal removal, and it will be valued as such. Probably a higher pick in draft than I want it to be. Look out for these, can't discount removal at any size. Fight with Fire is 3 mana for a sorcery with a kicker cost of 6. Fight with Fire deals 5 damage to target creature. If this spell was kicked, it deals 10 damage divided as you choose among any number of targets instead. Oh, wow. So I guess this is the Jaya artwork we've been seeing for a while, but dang, this card's crazy. 3 mana to lava axe a creature in the face, but if you pay 9 mana, you get to fireball in a big way. The ability to spread the damage out however you please, that's a game winner if you can get there, which is the only downside to this card. It's so expensive, and it isn't like a lot of red decks to plan for the late game. Good thing 3 mana for 5 damage is still crazy good. Fight with Fire is a top tier uncommon. It should be taken very early in draft. I expect it to be first picked a lot. Fire Fist Adept is 5 mana for a 3/3 human wizard. When it enters the battlefield, it deals X damage to target creature an opponent controls, where X is the number of wizards you control. Very nice wizard support for limited. 5 mana for a 3/3 that comes with some conditional removal isn't bad, and it's definitely worthy of an uncommon slot. This becomes absurd in a wizard deck though, but pretty bad in anything else. It's one of those amazing payoff cards for putting the deck together the right way. Even a handful of wizards can bump this dude's value up. Having even 1 or 2 wizards on the battlefield when this enters, that's a lot of potential power and a huge tempo swing if you can kill something and land a 3/3. Wizard tribal goodness, nothing more. Frenzied Rage is 2 mana for an enchant creature aura. Enchanted creature gets +2/+1 and has menace. Wowee, red is going just so ham here. A slightly more defensive madcap skills, Frenzied Rage, like our friend Fervent Strike, is meant for an incredibly aggressive red deck. You see, menace is an offensive mechanic. It only applies to attackers, and Frenzied Rage gives you more power than toughness. It's doing your work for you. You slot this into any red aggro deck, it's more than decent sorcery speed combat trick. If your creature doesn't die immediately, your opponent is about to take some real damage. G2 Journey Mage is 3 mana for a 3/2 human wizard. When it enters the battlefield, if you control another wizard, the Journey Mage deals 2 damage to each opponent. In Limited, even if you don't have too much wizard tribal, a 3/2 for 3 is good enough to fill. Of course, you'd rather have wizards, so this can shock your opponent all day. But if you don't, a curve filler is fine. Now, if you want to talk wizard tribal in Standard, which is something we've been talking about for over a week now, this actually isn't that bad. It gets you some free damage, assuming you have a wizard on the battlefield, which you will. It has 3 power, which is relevant, and it triggers Naban, which is exactly what we're looking for. These enter the battlefield triggers on wizards. Remember, they have additional value because of the staple wizards already revealed. Journey Mage might just be good enough for a standard budget wizard deck. G2 Lava Runner is 1 red mana for a 1/2 human wizard. As long as there are 2 or more instant and/or sorcery cards in your graveyard, the Lava Runner gets +1/+0 and has haste. Oh, dang, Lava Runner is straight playable in burn decks. Definitely in standard burn, absolutely in Pauper since it's a common, maybe even in modern. Of course, it does have to fight with Monastery Swift Spear, which is tough, but my point remains valid. The Lava Runner is very good, especially for a common. In these burn decks, it is not hard to get 2 spells in your graveyard. That's basically nothing. Then you drop this 1 mana 2/2 with haste down and swing away. Super aggressive, easy to enable, synergizes with basically every red deck on the planet. Look out for this card. I have high hopes, even though I hate burn, so that should tell you something. Goblin Barrage is 4 mana for a sorcery with a kicker cost of sacrificing an artifact or a goblin. Goblin Barrage deals 4 damage to target creature. If this spell was kicked, it also deals 4 damage to target player or planeswalker. Yeah, this is one of those moments when you realize just how stupid Goblin Grenade is. Anyways, Goblin Barrage is 100% playable in Limited and in Standard, especially in Standard. 4 mana and a small sacrifice for 8 damage, it's a game ender in Standard in some kind of burn deck, or even as a Goblin finisher after you make your final swing of the game. It isn't Goblin Grenade, obviously, but it's as good as we're going to get. I'll add this to the inevitable burn deck you're all going to make me build. I honestly think it's a bit unreal. Haphazard Bombardment is 6 mana for an enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, choose 4 non-enchantment permanents you don't control and put an aim counter on each of them. At the beginning of your end step, if 2 or more permanents you don't control have an aim counter on them, destroy one of those permanents at random. Okay. So this is another crazy Commander Chaos card. 6 mana, you get to fix your sights on 4 targets you don't like, then over the course of your next 3 end steps, you get to randomly annihilate one of those 4 targets. Which means that your opponent will be left with at least 1 card you don't want to see. Technically, this is 6 mana for 3 removal spells on stuff. You just need to make it those 3 turns to get full value. It also hits Hexproof and Shroud permanents because it doesn't actually target them, it just chooses them, fun fact. Haphazard Bombardment is a quirky card that feels like it's from a different time, so I actually love it, pretty on theme. Radiating Lightning is 4 mana for an instant. It deals 3 damage to target player and 1 damage to each creature that player controls. I'm having a tough time figuring out if this is decent, so I'm going to compare it to Chandra's Fury. I remember in Magic Origins, Chandra's Fury came out of nowhere and stole games out from under players. It came in after a bloody combat and wiped boards. Being instant speed gave it a lot of versatility, so I'm thinking Radiant Lightning is going to perform similarly. I think players might underestimate this a little bit. Now, I'm not going to say that this is the best burn spell out there. It might in fact be the least reliable one we've looked at so far. But don't underestimate instant speed. Don't underestimate a bolt to the face, and definitely don't underestimate dealing damage to everything, especially after combat happens. It changes the math for you, trust me. Shivan Fire is 1 red mana for an instant with a kicker cost of 4. Shivan Fire deals 2 damage to target creature. If the spell was kicked, it deals 4 damage to that creature instead. As pointed out already by basically everyone in the world, this is literally a worse Burst Lightning. It doesn't target players, so just plain worse. That doesn't mean it's bad or unplayable, it just isn't as broken as Burst Lightning. Shivan Fire is a fine removal spell that either shocks a creature or flame slashes them if you wait long enough. We've spoken about versatility before, and this is exactly that, versatile. I've always said never underestimate removal. This is cheap, efficient removal. No, it isn't Burst Lightning. Get over it. It's still a good card. Play it, you crazy kids. Okay, I don't know if it's just me, but does red seem really strong, like crazy aggressive, more so than usual, but also versatile, powerful, and deep? I mean, look at some of these cards. There is a ton of stuff going on here. The color is represented well. I don't even play red that much, but I gotta say, Dominaria is bringing the red goodness. Gotta know what you're thinking about all this. How are you feeling about the red cards in the set compared to the white, blue, and black cards? Direct comparison, red seems pretty dang decent. So again, gotta know how you feel, and be sure to stay tuned for more Dominaria coverage as we approach our pre-release guide early next week. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. This video is brought to you in part by TCGplayer.com. Something something cheap prices, something something Dominaria can be pre-ordered by clicking this link for $92 each. Something something fair prices if you don't have a local game store. Links on the screen. We've been through this before. Want to help the channel? Give it a little clickety click. I'll send you a Snickers bar. Enjoy.